Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com. In this tutorial we're going to start looking at Spring MVC, which is the Spring web framework that is so well known and is currently the biggest Java web framework in the world as far as I know. And what Spring MVC is it's not really a huge heavyweight framework. There are a lot of different modules you can use optionally with it. But in a simplest kind of analysis, you can think of it as a way of organizing servlets and JSPs. So I'm going to kind of assume that you know about servlets and JSPs in this tutorial. And if you don't, I've got a tutorial on servlets and JSPs. And the first videos, you can just click on them here and you don't have to subscribe. And they will take you from not knowing anything about Java web applications all the way to deploying a Java web application. So if you know nothing about servlets and JSPs or Java web applications, it might be worth taking a look at that. I'll also add a kind of discount coupon for the entire course here into this Spring tutorial somewhere near the end. Now, having said that, I'm going to try to explain stuff as much as possible as I go along, but because servlets and JSPs are a huge subject and web programming is a huge subject, I'm going to need to stick pretty tightly to just describing Spring in this tutorial. So I'm not going to go into Java web programming on the whole from the basics. I'm going to go into just Spring here. So now to create a basic web application, which is the first thing you need to do, well, you could create a Spring web application out of the box with the Spring source IDE or something like that. But I'm going to use just normal Eclipse here, and I'm going to start by creating a non-Spring web application, and we're then going to Springify it. So I'm going to take this step by step and build everything up from scratch so you see exactly what Spring is doing here. So you're going to need the Eclipse EE Enterprise Edition for Java developers, or normal Eclipse with a WT plugin installed, as described in one of the very first tutorials in this Spring tutorial series. Once you've got that, and you also need to install some kind of server, and I'm going to be using Tomcat. Again, it's a free thing you can download from the internet. Tomcat is a Java application server capable of running Java web applications. So I've installed that as well, and it can be a bit tricky to install Tomcat and get it working with Eclipse, but you need to be a little bit persistent, and eventually you'll get there in the end. So once you've got that, you should be able to go to New, and I'm going to go to File, New in Eclipse, and I'm going to go to Other. And if you look down here, you should have a web entry now. If you don't, then you probably haven't installed the WTP plugin, and you need to go to Dynamic Web Project. So I'll click Next, and I'll give this a name. I'm going to call this Spring Tutorial 50, and select your server here. You should have a server that you can select. And actually, if you have nothing in this box, click New Runtime, and you can select a runtime here that's appropriate for the server that you've installed. So I'm not going to go into this in detail. As I say, this stuff is covered in the first three tutorials of my Servlet and JSPs course. So I will recommend that you check that out if this is too confusing. And you can find that at udemy.com/JavaWebTut, or just go to www.caveofprogramming.com and look for the link at the top here, Java servlets and JSPs. It's right there. So the other thing that's really important here is we need to set this dynamic web module version to 2.5. 3 is more annotation driven, but there's still a lot of people using Tomcat 6, especially if you use some kind of cheap, free web application server on the internet. It might run Tomcat 6, and 2.5 is compatible with Tomcat 6, I believe. And the other reason why we're going to use Dynamic Web Module version 2.5 is that we want to have a web XML, because we're going to, I think, use that a bit as we proceed through these tutorials. So make sure you've got 2.5 selected there, and then I'm going to click Next. And this all looks good. And make sure you've got Generate Web.xml deployment descriptor ticked if it asks you, if it gives you that option. I'll leave the context root as it is, I think. This is going to appear actually in the URL. So I don't know, maybe I should change it to something like just Spring. Let's try that. And I'll click Finish. And if you expand that project now, you should have a bunch of stuff in here. And most especially, you should have in WebInf, you should have this web.xml. If you selected Dynamic Web Module version 2.5. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to right click the project and go to New JSP file. You might need to click on Other and find it under the Web section. Go to New JSP file, and let's call this home.jsp. It does actually fill in the extension for you if you don't type it. And I'll click Finish. And this is like an HTML document, except it's a JSP file that we can actually put Java in here if we want to, and other stuff. And I'm just going to type some text that I recognise. So let's type hi there and save it. And now I'm going to select that home.jsp, and I'm going to right click and go to Run as. Run on server. And I select my server there, which if nothing appears here, then again you'll need to go to manually define a new server and set your server up there. And I won't go through that again because it's covered, at least to some extent, in my servlets course. I'm going to always use this server when running this project, and click Next, and it looks good, so click Finish. And you might have to do this a couple of times because for some reason it often seems to go wrong, but don't be disheartened. And when you finally get it to work, it's going to say hi there. Whatever you typed in your JSP, you'll see it here. And of course, if you right click and view source, well, I was hoping we could right click and view source, but it seems we can't. What this document actually is it's just all this stuff here. And in fact, we should just be able to, if I just copy that, we should even be able to see it in a normal browser. So if I just paste that in, then there it says hi there. So we're running Tomcat via Eclipse, and we can see our web application running here. So that's it for this tutorial. That's a non-Spring web application. So I've rushed through that really quickly because it's not really the subject of our tutorial here. But taking this as a basis, I'm now going to go forward and we're going to Springify this bit by bit and turn it into a Spring web application. So that's it for this time, and until next time, happy coding.